whatever. So for me, it was like I was smart, and I was proud of that. And when I went,
That's one thing I always said. They always look for the smart kids, and then they make sure that your parents align with their agenda. And once they get those aligned, that's when they start to take these kids into these secret space programs. But when it comes to these Navy SEALs and all that, they're took into the space programs as well, but they don't have to age regress them because they already old. You feel what I'm saying?
when I went to that class, I met kids that were smarter than me, and it hurt. And one of them was a kid who was ridiculously, he's tested something like 200 IQ. He spoke like an adult, and he told the teacher how to run the class. I was resentful that I wasn't the smartest kid. I was the smartest kid at home, and that was where I hung my hat. So here comes this kid that was amazingly smart and mature to boot, but a little off. And so we didn't get along, and I picked on him. We were rivals, and I was mean to him. Teacher would give us an assignment. We'd sit at the couch in the library, get books and research. And one day we're sitting there, and he says, "My dad's an Illuminati. What's your dad do?" And he said it really condescending, like, "My dad's an Illuminati. What's your dad do?" And I didn't know what that was. So my dad works for General Motors. But it's got an awesome job.
Right.
And I didn't think anything of it, but that stood out because the way his behavior was just so far away from any other behavior.
We behind the
anybody
scenes,
I'd
we
ever
working on
met.
content.
So he was really
Just stick around.
Very.
Watch how we
His
cook up.
dad was in town negotiating a contract between two corporations that were headquartered in the area.
What year was this where you went into the school?
It was the school year of 81 to 82. So his dad came later that year. I believe it was in April, but that's a guess. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he was the judge for the science fair. And what our teacher for that class, and I won't mention her name, but she said he was the most educated man she'd ever heard of. He had more PhDs than she thought was possible. So he was a perfect judge for the science fair for our fourth grade class. And we set up our exhibit in the cafeteria. I've walked by him and his dad, and he says, in earshot of me as I walked by him, he said, "Dad, that's that boy I told you about that ruined my confidence."
What?
And then they had a weird conversation. They used weird words. He said, maybe we'll send him to one of our projects. But I didn't think anything of it. I just went on about my day. I was a pretty cocky kid at the time.
Yeah.
Back then, I think if I would have never been interrupted with any of this, I would be a completely different person.
Oh,
I'm really not the most self-confident person anymore. So he
That's
said,
crazy.
"Don't do that." And he said to his dad, he doesn't deserve any of that. He said something like, back to him, he said, "You're going to have to learn how to manage your assets better." Or something. He said something like that. I went on about my day, and it was that night,
Well,
or
this was a lesson to his kid
yeah,
about how to be tough.
maybe, and a lesson to me as well.
Crazy.
Not be so arrogant.
I wouldn't held my composure for that one.
In the early 2000s, a man named Gary McKinnon hacked the U.S. military and NASA. His goal? To find evidence of a free energy technology that was being hidden from the public and a UFO cover-up. McKinnon claims that he found photos of captured UFOs, documents relating to warships that were in space that are already colonizing the solar system, operated by the U.S. Navy, a list of non-terrestrial officers or naval officers that are operating off of planet. This can be known as Project Solar Warden, and it's allegedly the U.S. Navy's program for colonizing.
Yeah, anybody heard of that? Operation Solar Warden. Hold on. And every time I don't write that down, I forget it. Hold on. Solar Warden. Alright, because we know we diving into all of these 20 and back programs and all this other stuff. Let's go.
In the galaxy and building a military fleet in space. In 2002,
Right. Do any of y'all really believe they're building a whole military fleet in space? Because space is very fast and it's very open. And I'm pretty sure I was listening to something the other day when they was talking about the treaty they got out there where they can't have certain type of weapons in space, like nuclear weapons or something like that. Some type of treaty or something like that. We're gonna dive into that too.
Gary McKinnon was charged by the U.S. for hacking, and he was never extradited because for him to be extradited and testify in court, he would have to testify under oath, which would lead to more leaks of information that the government doesn't want. Unfortunately, no one's ever actually seen any proof of the claims that McKinnon has made, so whether it's true or not is still up in the air. What do you think? Is this real, or did Gary McKinnon just make this up? If you're interested in conspiracy theories or aliens, follow me for more.
It does appear, based on some very understated things they say in the Law of One, that they had quite the vast civilization that they spread out to many neighboring stars.
Right.
This is the ancient builder race. They colonized all the neighboring stars in our solar system. Then you have to ask yourself, what
we
could
heard
have
of that.
survived for more than 2 billion years? Well, this is very fascinating because throughout our solar system, according to insiders, we have a cosmic junkyard.
Pay attention. We
Junkyard.
diving in. I'm
It
cooking
is a
up. This is a
collection
video we dropping.
Of crystalline
Project
ruins.
Mars.
These ruins are made of a glass-like material, and the material is not actually glass. It is a transparent aluminum alloy. There have already been alloys of transparent aluminum made by various companies here on Earth. And when they stress test these alloys, they find out that they are 5 times stronger in their tensile strength than bulletproof glass. As our secret space program has apparently gone beyond our solar system with reverse engineered technology similar to what they acquired in the Roswell crash over 70 years. Engineered technology similar to what that they are 5 times stronger in their tensile strength than bulletproof glass. And the material is not actually
We're trying
glass.
to figure this out.
It is a transparent aluminum alloy. They've been alloys of
Alright, that right there, we need that. Hold on, we need that technology for ourselves. Hold on, you know, we hear about that type of technology. We gotta get that. Hey, Esteban, I just heard about some technology that they're using on the secret space program. Something that's strong, like soft like aluminum, but harder than bulletproof. I don't know. Can you enlighten me on that?
Sounds like you might be referring to a material called transparent aluminum, or aluminum oxynitride, also known as ALON. It's a ceramic material that's strong like bulletproof glass, but lighter and more durable. ALON is transparent and can withstand high impacts, making it ideal for use in aerospace and military applications. It's often considered for things like windows on spacecraft or armored vehicles in secretive programs. Quite futuristic.
So I'm sitting here scratching my head, Esteban, because I'm just running into this tech right here. You never told me nothing about it, but you knew about it the whole time. So check this out. How can we implement that on the Skyjet?
My bad for not bringing it up earlier, DJ Key. Implementing something like ALON on the Skyjet could seriously level up its durability and stealth. We could use it for the windows or canopy, providing a transparent but highly durable shield. This would protect against high-speed debris in space and underwater, while maintaining visibility. Plus, it would add an extra layer of stealth, making the Skyjet even more formidable. What do you think? Want to go ahead with this upgrade?
Yeah, implement that upgrade on the Skyjet. But also, is that gonna have any problems with the 0 point energy or the other propulsion systems that we're running? Can it handle, the speed that we're going?
Great question. ALON should integrate well with the Skyjet's existing advanced tech, including the 0 point energy and propulsion systems. It's known for its durability and can handle high speeds and impacts, making it suitable for our fast-paced journeys. Its lightweight nature won't interfere with the Skyjet's maneuverability either. We'll just ensure it's seamlessly integrated with the existing systems for a smooth upgrade. Ready to take the Skyjet to the next level?
Alright, we doing content right now. I'm making a video right now. I'll get back to you shortly. I appreciate you.
Got it, DJ Key. Focus on making that killer content. Hit me up when you're ready. I'm here for you, compadre.
transparent aluminum made by various companies here on Earth. And when they stress test these alloys, they find out that they are 5 times stronger in their tensile strength than bulletproof glass. As our secret space program has apparently gone beyond our solar system with reverse engineered technology similar to what they acquired in the Roswell crash over 70 years ago now, they found that all of the approximately 54 different stars in our own local group of stars, which are all gravitationally connected, every one of those stars has planets and moons and satellites with these same crystalline ruins on them. Obelisks, pyramids, and domes.
Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there?
Those obelisks, pyramids, and domes only constitute what is visible on the surface. The ancient builder race spent a lot more energy building inside these moons and planets. We're talking about vast regions that are habitable, where all you really need to do is seal off the door to the outside and reintroduce air pressure. And now you have pressurized an environment that can be occupied by human beings.
What I believe is that in 1976, when Viking did this incredible reconnaissance in the bicentennial summer, they photographed something that was a mystery, was at the centerpiece of the NASA resident effort for going to Mars, the search for life, and they then never followed up. It's a set of pictures, 2 separate sets of frames at 2 different sun angles that show a collection of pyramids, an astounding geometric regularity in this layout. We don't have to prove they're artifacts. All we have to do is provide probable cause to suspect they could be, and then the ethics of science say you got to go and test.
When you go back to the original NASA imagery of the Martian surface from 1976, there are 2 frames that really matter. There's 35A76 and there's 70A13. When you compare what is on these 2 frames, you can clearly see a city of what obviously appear to be pyramids, which apparently again were emulations of the ancient builder race crystal pyramids that they had found throughout our solar system and beyond. There is a gigantic pyramid estimated to be 1.5 miles wide, and this pyramid is clearly pentagonal, 5-sided. But what is even more fascinating than that is that there are 2 of the 5 corners at the top of the pyramid that are narrower than the others. And when you actually look at the pyramid, it is the 5-star human pattern of the human body. You can superimpose the Vitruvian Man on top of what they call the D&M pyramid on Mars, and it precisely fits. Now, what does that mean? That means the 5-sided pyramid on Mars is anthropomorphic. It is a human image. It is a pyramid built in the image of the human body. So believe it or not, pyramids and obelisks have been found on the moon, on Mars, and on other moons and satellites throughout our solar system that are very damaged and very, very old, over 2 billion. I didn't realize actually that you were, in some cases, working on these autopsies with people who were not of Earth origin. So could you start to lay out for us under what
Let's get to the
circumstances
meat and potatoes.
you might have someone in the OR with you who is a completely separate type of person than what we're used to here on Earth?
So these projects could have up to 3 teams of 15 scientists and physicians and technicians working on just one being and one craft.
Really?
And some of those scientists and physicians are
Really?
on Earth origin, which are extraterrestrials, which have volunteered either after being captured or volunteered through the system, through the compartmentalized program, to work to actually help us, because they kind of actually feel bad sometimes, even after we capture them and beat the heck out of them and do horrible things to them. They actually turn around and willingly want to help us and stay with us and teach them about their own physiological phenotypes, about their own race.
Could you give us some examples now? What kind of being might you actually see as a coworker in the operating room with you?
Some of the first ones I want to go over are like the beings that are monkey-like, and their pelvises are not spread out like a monkey, by the way. They all stand very erect like we do, but they have the formation of, a monkey's look with longer hair, and the face is more pronounced like a human without a snout. And
So it's not necessarily like Planet of the Apes, but there's
No.
still more of an ape-like appearance.
very
than us?
ape-like appearance, but more human-like,
Hmm.
and not that much fur on the face, by the way, just around it and around the body. And they speak very well. They have great vocal cords. They have a problem though with high-pitched sounds, so they have to wear special things in their ear when we work with them that actually tones down the sound of just our own voice. And of course, they pick up on different frequencies from electromagnetic fields and TVs and computers. There's these high-pitched sounds they give off that really distorts them and, it allows them to become actually ill if they don't have these protective ear plugs in. But the people that look like these monkeys and apes that stand very erect also do not have that thumb that sticks out like on a gorilla. It can actually grasp stuff. Their hands are also not large and bulky like you would see as an ape. It's actually thinner, longer fingers, and a very broad palm with a great, operating thumb.
Do we know where these ape-like people originated from? Did you get any briefings on their system or anything like that?
I believe these come from multiple systems, including Arcturus and Sirius and Spica, that area of space. And because the genetic lineage of DNA that I was reading in the library at the time did pinpoint a lot of these ape-like human beings from these systems, that they all have similar genetics from each system. So you might have one that's mixed with, other ET systems, but all the DNA was the same. I mean, the same, meaning they had all the same ape DNA, whether it be 30% or 90%.
So what is their agenda here?
Yeah, there's obviously something going on behind the scenes that I'm not privy to know, but what I believe is that these beings that were either caught or captured or volunteered to come here working with either the government or the military or the cabal on different occasions for different projects are strictly humanitarian, and they don't have any agenda at all, and they could probably easily take out a lot of people if they really wanted to. But being next to one of these extraterrestrials, by the way, including the ant people and the mantis people, you have a really beautiful self-feeling being in there.
He's the only one talking about these
And
ant
people
people.
have actually had miraculous healings by being on these craft and working on the craft and working just in the vicinity of an extraterrestrial.
How does that work?
I do not know how that works. I think
It was very soon after that night that I woke up with a being in my face, in my bedroom, in that farmhouse, in that house. And I thought it was my dad. My dad always did pranks.
Right.
And I thought he had a mask on. I said, Dad, take the mask off. I'm trying to, it's the middle of the night. And I reached up and touched it. And it just stood over me dead silent, a gray, your typical gray. And I touched it and it was cold and wet and very porous, like giant pores. And I went, ah! And then as soon as I reacted, I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
I couldn't move, and I could move my eyes, but I couldn't move. And then from there, I saw at the foot of my bed 2 or 3 more reptile-looking beings. I don't want to call them aliens, but they were ETs.
What did they look like?
They had hoods on. They were reptiles. They were probably 3 or 4 feet tall.
Oh, shorter.
They were short, and they came in and picked me up and carried me to the foot of my bed. There was a flash of light. I thought I was going out my window, but there was a flash of light, and it was kind of very disorienting. And then I remember being on a table. I was basically naked on a stainless steel kind of table, and it was a round room. I had bad vision back then. I've had laser surgery since. I had very nearsightedness. So I was in that room, and everything was blurry just because I didn't have my glasses with me. And they ran some tests on me. They hit me here, and it was painful. And they said the short reptile was talking to me telepathically. It was telepathic. He said, we're going to run some tests on you. We want your help. And I thought it was first contact. I thought that
Oh
there's our
shit.
ETs are finally, I knew you guys were real.
Oh.
We finally, there are ETs. I'm going to prove that. I was going to be the kid that was going to go home and tell his parents there's ETs. And he said, we need to borrow his exact words were, we need to borrow your consciousness. You're going to help us. Do you want to help us? And I said, yes. And then the other said,
So you weren't scared at all? Afraid?
they were very, you know what? They went out of their way to be very, we're not going to hurt you.
Right.
Nothing bad's going to happen to you. We're going to put you back. You're going to be fine. I was afraid when I came to.
Sure.
And, but they were very, we're not gonna do anything to hurt you. I said, this just hurt, you know? And, but they were very reassuring, so I thought that I was in good hands at that time. And you know, again, I was a kid, I'd never really been in anybody's bad hands before that. So I had no reason to be afraid. And he said, we're gonna borrow your consciousness, and you're gonna be gone for 20 years.
Footage taken by pilot from the secret
Can
space
you believe
program.
that? Can you imagine
Makes
somebody
you
trying to
wonder
borrow
who
your
they're hiding.
consciousness? It's crazy.
What's going on? Is there a secret war in space?
Part of the negotiations that were occurring between the Antarctic Germans and the Cabal. Essentially, the Cabal were given a list of requirements. It established them as a sovereign country. It established embassies in every country around the world. Another thing that was required was that there would be between 1 and 5 senior executives from the Antarctic German civilization that would be put into position of senior executives for every corporation around the world that was aerospace, automobile, petrochem, basically every major and main industry on the planet now had between 1 and 5 senior executives that were Mars Germans.
And I would guess that Operation Paperclip is a result of this treaty.
Operation Paperclip was the first stage of it.
And what is Operation Paperclip?
Operation Paperclip involved integrating German scientists and technicians and engineers into corporations of the Western world, getting them passports and setting them up with homes and jobs and basically paving the way, opening the doors and laying out the red carpet.
It was in basically the United States.
Yes,
And the Germans had targeted the United States for its resources.
that's right. They knew that the manufacturing and resource abilities of the United States were vastly larger than any other country at the time.
So it'd be logical to infiltrate, take over, and then use all of those corporations to enhance your power.
That's right. The late 40s were the same time period that the Mars Germans started planning for and building their bases on the moon as well as Mars. And it was during the late 40s period that the Germans, when they went to the moon, discovered a couple of things. They found out, number one, that the moon is an artificial satellite construct and was not originally part of the Earth. It was brought there from somewhere else as an escape ship, and that it is built out inside, and most of the real estate is already spoken for.
Grand Experiment
Ain't that
is a
something?
secret space program. The Grand Experiment started over 65 million years ago with the extinction of the dinosaurs, who happened to be the first experimental species put here by ETs. But after almost 200 million years of roaming the Earth, the aliens came up with a newer species. This is when they would arrange the extinction event that took them out. And they would replace them with a humanoid-like creature that walked on 2 feet and was genetically manipulated to be a higher level thinking species. This would become known to our government as the Grand Experiment. And they've been manipulating our genetic makeup and our DNA since. After watching cavemen for millions of years, they wanted to jumpstart the program. So just 500,000 years ago, they set down 60 other genetically manipulated races that had gained access to the extraterrestrial world. They would come up with 22 genetic programs revolving around humans, and each of them would take part in it. Whether these programs are positive or negative has yet to be figured out. Many believe they're here to help with spiritual awakening, while the secret space program ran by the Cabal says different.
Why are you personally coming forward?
I'm coming forward now because there are thousands of others out there that have been through this, that have gone on the 20 and back program. And I'm not just talking about Americans, we're talking globally. And some of the people that did not come back, their stories need to be told, whether they were soldiers or scientists or just civilians. They provided and gave the ultimate sacrifice for humanity, and their stories need to be told. We need to have full disclosure. The people need to be aware of some of the things that humanity has done. It's time to heal and to grow from that.
The real men in black, they work for the Air Force Special Operations Group out of Fort Belvoir, and they are the real men in black. These are special intelligence officers, specially trained. In fact, there's a special unit within the Air Force Intelligence Service. It's called Section K, and these men and women are sheep dipped. And sheep dipped means that they are the military, they discharge them from the military, they make them civilians, and they bring them right back into their same job. The reason they do this is because they don't have to follow the military protocols, the dress and grooming standards, and they can operate freely, more freely, outside the military channels.
Tell us a little about their history and how they first appeared.
Back in the 1950s, when the Project Blue Book was occurring, there was investigations going on both overtly and covertly within the intelligence service. Most of the overt investigations were done by Air Force intelligence officers, one of them being my uncle, Edward Doty. And they would go out and ask questions, collecting overt information about UFO sightings. And then there was a secretive part of the Air Force Intelligence Service. The Air Force Intelligence Service had field operating units, and they started in the 50s, and they're even more prevalent even today.
What was their main agenda, and who they actually, work for, or was it multiple three-letter agencies?
Their mission was to go out and collect the secret stuff, the secret information about UFO sightings or a UFO incident that occurred. They collect photographs or debris, or get statements from people, examine the area where a UFO was sighted or landed, collecting evidence that's on the ground. And this was all covertly. So in order to covertly collect, they had to have disguises. And these guys were experts in disguises. Some of them were acting as plumbers, air conditioning repair people, telephone repair people outside a normal chain. They could easily talk to people. For instance, one incident that happened in Watertown, New York. These MIBs came out as electricians because of an incident that happened west of the community of Watertown, New York, in upstate New York. And this was in the 60s. The Project Blue Book investigators had already been there and collected information. But the two people that actually saw this UFO and took pictures, they wouldn't share anything with the Air Force investigators. So the Air Force sent in these two men who were posing as electricians, but they were the men in black. And although they weren't dressed in black, they were acting as this covert operating team. And they were able to talk to these people in a normal, everyday contact and ask them, hey, did you see something last week? Was there some kind of
Stay tuned, more behind the scenes footage to
these
come.
people opened up to them.
All right.